Today, as a surprise talk, I'm going to be just giving a brief talk about Heritage Day, whether this day is relevant. With no doubt, the Heritage Day is very important, especially in the country like South Africa, where issue of moral decay of society is prevalent. I think we really need to revive heritage of communities, because in most cases when you go in the urban area and rural area, you can see that there's a gap which requires to be filled by heritage and cultures. Now, Heritage Day is very important because it brings people together, it revives cultures that have disappeared in the past. So this gives opportunity for the people who have lost cultural activities of memories to reconnect with the past. But with the rich history in South Africa and lost heritage, this day basically help us to reintegrate or rediscover what has been lost. You see, I personally believe that the future of this day belongs to the people themselves. Societies, communities must make sure that this day, Heritage Day, survive. You know, whether you are irrespective of where you come from. We must also learn that many Africans, elites, don't care about heritage. They only use it for their own political gain, don't support heritage. The reason why South African heritage is well preserved and well organized is the presence of the whites. So whites, their children will reconnect with the continent. So for them to reconnect with the continent, they need the existence of African cultures. So we don't want a situation whereby African culture disappear as it has happened in the Mozambique. The previous government of Mozambique, in Lorenzo Marques, Portuguese were ruling there. What happened is that Portuguese failed to preserve black cultures. So what you see today among people from Mozambique, you can see there's a problem of identities. In Zimbabwe, there's no cultural identity that signifies that our brother are from Zimbabwe. Have got what you call social cohesion, where you see Ndebele, you see Shona coming together. This does not happen, but we must be proud of the system of South Africa, where different tribes in these heritage days, they'll showcase their cultural activities. I understand that many people are arguing that why should black people wear colonial garments? Yeah, they should wear colonial garments. I know that colonial garments or these so-called traditional clothes are colonial, invasion. We need them. We need them. Why driving Western cars? If these things were colonial, why are you eating European food? We need this so-called inverted tradition, like indigenous garments. Your people must wear this thing during the Heritage Day, because they are cultural signifiers that connect us with the past. Because some of these clothes or garments are embroidered or have got a design in such a way that they resemble some of cultural activities. If you look in southern part of Africa, there are only three countries that if not four. It's like Botswana. You still go to Botswana, you see these things of cultural element of Botswana culture among Swazis. You still see these enthusiastics. South Africa is the powerhouse of cultures. So we need continuities. If don't feel ashamed to wear your cultural design, whether it's got its inverted tradition, continue to support your own. The reason why in South Africa, African cultures tend to live long, or it's so present or well suppressed for tourism purposes, which is very important. So in doing so, that will motivate greedy black politicians and elites to see the value of politicians and elites. They think that Europeans are much interested in the Western ways of life. White people don't go, Europeans don't care about those things. What I'm trying to say is that heritage is very important to be preserved. So therefore, we must work together to preserve heritage of Africans, to avoid a situation of Khoisan people who have lost everything. The Khoisan language, cultural tradition have been lost forever because of the neglections by colonial government. So what happened in the past, where colonial government neglected traditions of indigenous people, should not happen to our own cultures. Some people are saying, what about Afrikaner? Afrikaner culture is invented inverted cultures and language. They were invented here in South Africa. But despite the fact that Afrikaner is a recent culture and the recent languages, the custodian of Afrikaner culture are fighting battles. They are fighting guardedly to preserve it. I know that we all know that Afrikaner were racist against blacks. But one thing that they've done perfectly is to preserve their culture. And as we Bantu, sometimes we don't care about cultures. It only appears in one day in heritage time where politicians want to give speech. But throughout the year, they don't do the same thing. If we don't preserve black cultures, we are going to end up like Mozambique and Zimbabweans, where the rich culture of those countries is not evident. You don't see anything. We must also work very hard to preserve indigenous food, indigenous garments. If you are a black woman, you are working in that space of tailoring or producing indigenous clothes, you must do that. You must continue. Don't care about what people say, hey, but this is a European garment. It's called, in anthropology, it's called inverted traditions. Inverted tradition develop cultures. So we must continue to wear traditional clothes. So therefore, wearing the clothes, if you want to wear traditional garments, you must continue to wear, because it brings incomes for ordinary black women who are using it, who are tailors, who are sewing. They are selling that things for particular market. So if we say we must not wear the so-called traditional clothes, it's going to have impact on the economy of black people, because people who produce those things are our people. I understand that many people are saying culture evolve or culture is dynamic. Yes, culture is a dynamic, but the aspect of Asian culture should continue. In South Africa, we've got cultures. Their language have been neglected. They don't talk about it. When they arrive in the big city and forget to speak their mother tongue, they disappear. They hide. They don't want to be known that they belong to those cultures. Now, that's very sad to see that we have got people who hide their culture when they go to the big cities. They think that maybe they have to learn other cultures. So my point here is that culture is very important. Celebrate your culture. We need cultures to connect people from rural areas and urban areas. Therefore, culture, celebrating culture, tradition is very important. Nobody should be ashamed of it. You should participate in your cultural activities. Afrikaner invested in their cultures. Therefore, in the next 100 years, Afrikaner culture will be alive and kicking, whereas some African culture will disappear. They are the cultures that we know that you can be a Pan-Africanist and still support your own cultures. Pan-Africanism does not necessarily mean that you have to neglect your. You can be a Pan-Africanist and still support your cultures. Thank you.